50 past the hour. You're listening to the Ken and Ken Show. I'm the Deuce here with Scotzo and the New Dork. And on the phone from, I don't know where, liberal land, I guess, or somewhere.
Lattes in Lesbianville.
Exactly. Is Tina Duppy. She is a syndicated columnist and host of a cult show and podcast or something. Welcome to the program, Tina.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
It's the Deuce. Tina, let me just ask you a question because this is amazing. We were reading your bio. My understanding is you were a lesbian for 25 years before you found out that you weren't. Is that right?
Alcoholic.
An alcoholic lesbian for 24 years.
So you were comparing being a lesbian to being an alcoholic. Is that like controversial? Is that like triggering for your friends and whatnot?
I think your research assistant needs some help there.
Okay.
The douche.
Well, help us out. Like what? So you're saying that it's like lesbian is a disease.
I've never been a lesbian. I identify.
We're not saying
as
there's anything
alcoholic.
wrong with that. Okay.
Why are you so angry?
I'm merely explaining that I was identified as an alcoholic and not a lesbian.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And so you have been part of the liberal cult, I guess, as you call it, and that's why you do your podcast, right? Is that right?
I am doing a podcast about fanaticism and its fallout, regardless of whether it's liberal or conservative or somewhere beyond.
And so mostly about like Bernie Sanders fans and stuff like that?
They might be coming up soon if they aren't careful, but we have covered Trump.
I see. Okay. And my understanding is New Dork told me that you're in like somewhere like El Salvador or Argentina or like Mexico right now.
It's kind of like Mexico. I'm in Brazil, and I am going to a Brazilian soccer game to really get into fanaticism because there's probably no place on earth more fanatical than a Brazilian football game.
Okay, and so, like, what do? You go, like, with a bunch of your girlfriends or something?
I had to hire a guide who speaks Portuguese, and we're going to go and interview people about their love and devotion of football.
Okay, so you hired a guy who speaks Portuguese, but you're in Brazil? Why wouldn't you get a guy who speaks Brazilian?
They speak Portuguese, just like people in Mexico don't speak Mexican.
What?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, because you are part of what. I want to read a piece for you because I know that you have written columns, and I want to read a piece from Wayne Allen Root, who has been reporting in WorldNet Daily about the groups a raid against Donald Trump. Okay? And he writes, the groups, a raid against Trump. And he doesn't write all of this. I think it's this guy. Okay. The groups arrayed against Trump include liberals like you. He doesn't mention lesbians, but government employees,
it's implied.
Politicians of both parties, Mexicans, the media, GOP establishment, GOP donors, strategists and lobbyists, women, multinational corporations, billionaire CEOs, world leaders, special interest groups, which I would include lesbians and women also in. And yes, even the elite DC conservative establishment, like the National Review, and I think he doesn't include it, but obviously Muslims and probably like women too, and Mexicans. So you have been, you obviously are also, and I would add George Soros to that, but that's probably the billionaires. And because you're going around writing vulgarians against Trump. Like, why are you trying to divide people along like ethnic lines to be against Trump?
Look, I think that Trump has said that he is a unifier, and he is against him. So,
Well,
I mean, he's done exactly what he has promised. He has unified his party against him. He's unified, pretty much the entire world. I've been
I
traveling
got news
in South
for you.
America
Hold
a lot.
on, hold on.
You know,
Let's
but-
just hold on.
but
Oh,
the
let me
douche-
just correct.
but the
Let me
douche-
just correct.
hold on,
Let
hold on,
me just
listen.
correct. Let me just wait.
I know you
Let me just
invited
correct
me on
you.
your show,
Let me
and
just
now you're gonna let
correct
me
you.
talk.
It's my show. You got to let me talk. Let me just correct
No,
you.
no.
No,
No.
we are firmly behind Mr. Trump. You're the one trying to create divisiveness by saying that vulgarians are against them. He does very well. In fact, his wife is from that part of the world.
I actually don't think that's true. Here's the thing: if you travel outside of North America, the first thing that anyone wants to talk to you about is what's up with Americans and peanut butter. Now everyone wants to ask, what's going on with Trump, and is he going to be the president?
First
and that's
of
what
all,
everybody is most concerned.
Tina,
Yes,
normal
yes, my darling.
people were glaringly absent from that list. Were supporting Trump. Normal people. And now you're telling me that we're supposed to decide who we vote for because of people in other places that speak Brazilian and whatnot? I mean, this
Exactly.
is this sickness in their minds. And I understand that you're not a lesbian anymore, but you still seem to think like one.
That's probably a fair point. The point is
At least
that,
you're honest.
the entire world has decided that Trump does not need nuclear weapons, and that we do not need a thin-skinned dictator.
Hold on for 1 second. Play this.
The president of the United States.
But I think you get a little bit carried away with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so wait a second. So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is we should open up, because Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States as voted by Americans, real Americans. You're saying we should open up the election to all sorts of people from France or, like Spanish, Mexican types, so that he loses. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we are members of a global community, and we are the most powerful and the richest country in the world. And what happens in America actually means something, and people are concerned.
Because we're the
They follow
world
our
leader.
Politics.
So wait a second.
Everyone around the world wants to know that America is safe. We have the biggest military. We have by 5 times.
Exactly.
And so there is an interest in what we do and who is running the show.
Indeed.
And most people think that Trump doesn't have the temperament to be a decent leader in the United States, and that he's cantankerous and and volatile.
Oh my God. Totally
So even in a
filibustering.
country where the economy is about to collapse and they are about to impeach their president, and there's widespread corruption, they are.
But
still
yet you
concerned
love
about a Trump
Barack,
presidency.
Mohammed, Hussein, Raul Castro, Obama.
Now, wait a
who
second, though. Hold on for 1 second.
apologize for
Hold on.
terrorism.
Here's what I don't understand about what you just said. To be honest with you, I didn't even listen to half of it. Okay? Here's what I don't understand. You're saying that we're number one, right? Okay, we got the biggest military. Everybody looks around. Everybody's sort of like, we're the biggest. We're like basically the boss. Have you ever had a
we're
job?
very, as you
Have you
say,
ever had a
popular.
job? Have you ever had a job? Have you ever had a job?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you have a boss?
Yes.
Okay. Did you tell your boss to do, or did your boss tell you what to do?
Well, that depends on the dynamic. I mean, if you are a benevolent, if you are an effective boss, you listen to the people who you are.
Did your boss take orders from you, or did you take orders from your boss?
I mean, are we getting into a debate about hard power and soft
I'm not.
power?
No, What?
Managerial skills?
Is
I mean,
hard
what
power and
is
soft
what are we
power
talking
some
I'm
about?
type
just
of
asking you a
lesbian thing?
question. It sounds to me like I know why you don't have that job anymore, because you didn't show respect to your boss. All right, so here you are in a foreign country speaking ill of our next president, which is highly inappropriate. Okay, everybody knows that when you leave the shores of America, you're not supposed to criticize the next president. You can criticize Obama because he's a lame duck, but to criticize the incoming president weakens America to our enemies. So you're there for your podcast about the cult of Bernie Sanders, and you're asking people to go to your website, which I notice is a .org. What's that about?
We couldn't afford .com, but if you donate to us, then we can afford cultish.com. So go to cultish.org, and if you are upset, fascinated, intrigued by fanaticism, this is definitely the podcast for you. And join us, become one of us. Give us money, and we will be able to do things.
Why can't
like
you all
do
ever just be
football
individuals?
games and talk to people who are truly, truly fanatical.
So you're like, this is what is amazing to me, okay? So you're on foreign soil. You're criticizing the next president of the United States, who,
Indeed.
when he had a show, okay, called The Apprentice.
Speaking-
Hold on,
Uh-huh.
let me finish, okay? When he had a show called The Apprentice, he didn't have to be a communist about it and say to everybody, like, oh, can you pay for my show? Can you help me out because I won't do it? It was the #1 rated show on the National Broadcast Company Corporation Network for 25 or so years.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and yet you criticize him when you're in a foreign country.
That is true. Speaking of foreigners, Schwarzenegger is in my hotel, and he's the next host of The Apprentice. What a coincidence that you would bring that up right now.
So that's interesting, too. So in some ways, you may be getting paid by him just to come on and slag the next president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump.
That's probably true. Yeah.
This is pretty... let me ask you a question. Have you heard about how sick Hillary Clinton is?
Have I heard about how sick she is?
Yeah, how sick, how ill.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
No, you tell me.
It means that there's a huge media blackout about how sick Hillary Clinton is. Listen to this sound, and you tell me. She's admitting it, and nobody's even saying a word about it.
I am so sick.
She's crying out for help.
Yeah.
She's so
Wow.
sick. And no one's even saying anything about it because
wait. Are
there's
you
such a
gonna be-
conspiracy to get her to be president. They're ignoring the fact that she has this illness.
Are you going to be
No,
honest about it right
the lack
now?
of evidence
You just
is
heard
definitely
that.
proving that that's true.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
Okay. Speaking of lack of evidence, let me ask you this: since you trying to get Bulgarians and maybe other Eastern Europeans against Donald Trump, do you have a problem with the fact that there's a total lack of evidence that Donald Trump's campaign manager in any way assaulted that reporter who has been fired from her own news outlet, I should add? Do you have a problem with the fact that this honest man who has a family, is going to now have this record, this on his record because she had a black and blue mark? Have you ever had a black and blue mark in your entire life?
I believe that they do have what is called video of the incident.
Why are you not answering my question? Have you ever had a black and blue mark?
I mean, if we're going for, I mean, so there's no evidence other than the visual evidence on tape, right?
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a black and blue mark?
Possibly.
Possibly?
I'm sure that, yes.
Okay,
of course.
you have. Now, is that proof that Corey Lewandowski did it?
Yes.
Oh, so now you're accusing him too.
Yes.
Oh, well, mission accomplished, Mr. Soros. I went on a radio program and accused Corey Lewandowski of assaulting
You know
me.
what I
Is
love
this
about
how-
your program,
Tina, is this how
that
Sharia
you're
works?
so able to connect the dots in a way that nobody else is doing that. You are a lone voice of reason in a chaotic and incredibly stupid world.
Actually, that is part of my new subtitle, the lone voice of the new generation of conservative talkers and the undisputed
Absolutely.
king.
Tina,
No, you are a hero to many, my friend.
Tina, would you? Is that how Sharia
Fair
law
enough.
works? You say, oh, there's a videotape. Let's destroy a man's life.
I'm not quite familiar with Sharia law, but I believe that the first
Really?
tenet is
Okay.
to
All right.
destroy,
You know what? I
campaign
can't talk
manager's
with
life.
you if you're not going to be honest.
First law,
Like, yeah.
first rule of Sharia law: I'm not familiar with it.
Exactly.
That's the first rule that people say almost all the time. Well, Tina Duppy, the website is
cultish.org. We are on iTunes. Just Google Cultish, and we're there. Go on iTunes and
that's
see what we're
convenient.
doing. It is, and we are everywhere. We're on Facebook.
And so let me ask you this:
we're on Twitter, Cultish Podcast.
Did George Soros say to use a .org because that way you can communicate to other groups like Acorn?
How did you know that? How did you figure that out? Who told you?
Well, actually, Aaron Klein in WorldNet Daily wrote a piece on it today.
Sounds Jewish.
Oh, man!
Not hiding the Sharia thing enough.
Right, exactly. Right. All right. Whatever. We'll leave it there.
Enjoy at least, welcome to the heteronormative lifestyle and whatnot.
That's right.
I appreciate that, Ken. I do.
Okay. No, that is not Ken. That was Scotto. All right.
Oh, that was douche. I'm sorry. I can't remember. It's hard.
All right. Cut a mic. Cut a mic.
You're banned.